Welcome to the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest podcast with your special guests, Oscar Geronimo Days and Joe Browne. And don't forget your host, Leslie Long.
Welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our second podcast of our One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest season. I'm joined here by Oscar and Joe, and I'm just going to ask them to quickly introduce themselves and their role in this production.
Kia ora. I'm Joe. I'm a clinical psychologist by trade. I manage a psychological service at Christchurch Women's Prison, and I have been in the mental health arena for the last sort of 20 years as a psychologist. I'm also a very keen and avid theatre person, having trained as an actor in my previous life, and have been involved in the theatre for a number of years in Christchurch as well.
Cool, welcome.
Kia ora, my name's Oscar Geronimo Days. I play Chief Bromden in the production of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest for Rolleston. I'm an actor. Mine's a lot shorter.
That's all good. That's all good. You are both very welcome. Okay, we're just going to jump right into it. So, Joe, particularly, but also for you, Oscar, as well, we're looking at kind of mental health then versus now. And we're looking at mental health awareness and reducing stigma around mental health issues. So, looking back over the last few decades, how do you think mental health treatment and public understanding has evolved for the better?
I think we have evolved in the sense that it is not such a stigma now to ask for help, to acknowledge that you have mental health issues, and we have a much more accepting, generally, public awareness of mental health. We have evolved in the way that we manage and treat mental health in terms of a much more holistic kind of view of our health and our well-being. Before it was very much driven by a medical kind of disease model. Now we've moved to where we're looking at a holistic kind of well-being and treating mental health within that kind of sphere. I mean, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, no, it's, I mean, I've, not to be rude, but I'm about as old as you've been in the business. So my experience of things changing is not nearly as broad.
Yeah.
But I do think it's, even just from going through high school to now, it's definitely a lot more accepting, but also because it's understanding. It's not just the people more open to ideas that they don't understand, but they're open to the fact that some of the things that are affecting them in their day-to-day lives are actually something that can be worked on and not just something they're stuck with, like that old mentality of a lot of the, and not to be too much on a cliche, but a lot of the people I would meet through high school were often, rugby boys that were following after their dads, not realizing that that's just a self-perpetuating cycle of something that you can actually change, and suddenly you're not as frustrated with life from time to time and things like that, because they never saw anything else sort of thing.
Yeah. And I think the evolution of social media actually has played a critical role in sort of bringing people together in that sense. And understanding and seeing that maybe I'm not alone, maybe there are other people, making it more open. There's also a lot more access to information about where you can ask for help, how you can ask for help.
100%.
So there's lots of good things, I think, that have come, although there are also some not so good things, but lots of good things that have come from, the social media and the online presence that we have now.
Yeah. And I think if we talk about it, right, and, I tell you, that I've suffered with depression in the past, or I've been on medication, or I've seen a psychologist or whoever, that gives almost permission for the other person, if they've had similar experiences, to share that as well.
Exactly.
And so it just opens it out, right? So that people can be more honest about it, and it's not, it reduces the stigma immediately.
Yeah,
really.
absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Excellent. So, going just furthering on from that, how do you think that open and honest conversations about mental health are still so important in communities today?
I think, we've been talking about how things have grown and changed, and how we are more open, more able to talk about things like self-harm, suicide, depression, all of those things. But I still think there is that kind of hanging on from our past,
Yeah.
that kind of stigma that still exists. And I think that having those conversations, as you said, means that other people can feel, hey, I might not be the only person feeling this way.
Yeah.
I can share, I can actually talk about this. I don't have to hide it all. And giving ourselves permission to actually have those conversations. And I think they can be scary for people. But I also think that it's not about having all the answers in those conversations. So some people come in and think, oh, we need to know the answer and help, and I need to know how to fix this. But it's more about being able to listen and being able to offer the support that you can, whatever that might look like. So I think, we still have a long way to go with having those conversations, and they're still vital to us, because unfortunately mental health issues are still on the rise.
Yeah.
So we even more now need to be able to have those conversations, I reckon.
Yeah. And with, sorry.
No, go.
With a huge access to information now as well, as a young person who has gone through not just the change in mental health, but then that access of information about that acceptance, a challenge that some get panicked by as well, and I know I have as well, is that there is so much. What do I do?
Yeah.
There's still more learning of the. You might have 3 different things in front of you that are presented as these are things that could be going on in your life, and as a young person you might actually just assume you have all 3, and that can.
And it's that self-diagnosis thing, isn't it? That can be quite scary.
Yes.
So while I think some of the resources we have online and how to manage your symptoms and how to kind of maybe make yourself feel a bit better is useful, but we all know the Dr. Google thing, and
Yes, my God.
Googling all our symptoms and then self-diagnosing ourselves with a million things, that can be really scary too. So there's a fine balance,
It's kind of that huge pool of information is so accessible, you can forget to go, hi, what do I need to do with this? And just talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Just that you're a trusted friend, a parent, anyone, just to converse a thought as opposed to only reading something in your own mind.
Yeah, and human beings kind of have this innate need to be heard and to be seen, and I think that comes through in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, actually.
Yeah.
And those open conversations are when people can feel those things and feel connected in a way that, that we don't have if we're not talking.
Sometimes just saying it out loud is enough to start that kind of cascade of help and acceptance, really, I suppose.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. So for some people who may not know how to help, what are some meaningful ways that friends and family members or colleagues can support someone who might be struggling?
I think, as I said before, it's not really about having the answers. If you are a support person for someone, it's about being there, listening, actually listening to them and validating that is how that person is feeling in that moment. I think often we jump into, how am I going to fix this? What's the solution? I've got to sort this for this person. But actually validating their emotions and saying, actually, it's okay to feel like that. I can see that you're really struggling with this. Those things are really validating and can actually be helpful in their own way. And then asking what that person might need, little acts of kindness that you can do, checking in on them, just sending a message. Hey, I was thinking about you, how are you doing? Following up if you say you're going to catch up with them. I don't think it needs to be hard. And I think people, personally, I've seen people in my profession, I've seen people pull away when someone's become mentally unwell because of the fear. And I would say that that's kind of the opposite of what that person needs. Just step in and don't feel it's on you to fix it.
Yeah.
I know what you mean by the making sure that's what someone wants with the validation as well, because a bit of a problematic era that a lot of young people can find themselves, especially in a situation of just being any form of arts acting, is, and I experienced this myself, and I have other colleagues that have mentioned that this was something that they struggle with. As a young person who knows they want to do the arts, you often get validated for that passion, that want to drive there. But then the inadvertent effect is sometimes you can be rewarded more for acting like someone else. It's and sometimes you are trying to have a communication of, I like this. I also want to have a conversation like this, but people are so used to you being like this. It becomes that thing of they're validating inadvertently the wrong thing from time to time. And that's what you were saying of make sure it's what they're wanting to hear about and talk about.
Yeah. And sometimes we think we know what someone might need, but actually just asking them what they might need is probably really helpful.
And I think if someone is having issues with their mental health, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, someone opens up to you and says, you know, I'm having this struggle, and you immediately go into fixing mode. You immediately want to try and fix it because you love that person, you care about them, and you want to make it better. But that's actually not always what they need. They just need a hug, they just need some distraction maybe, or just to talk.
Yeah,
and just get it out.
I love a good vent. It's always good fun.
Yeah, don't we all?
And it's also okay to say, you know, what do you need from me for this conversation? Would you like me to do something, or are you happy just to sit and talk? You know, it's okay to ask.
Perfect. So, empathy and human connection are central themes in both mental health advocacy and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Why are these qualities so important in helping people to feel seen and supported?
That's what we've kind of just been talking about, isn't it? It's making people feel less alone. When you experience mental illness, it's really scary, and you can often feel very alone in that. And then if someone comes into that space with empathy and compassion and kindness, you feel less alone. And I think I've heard it time and time again from people struggling, but also people with lived experience who have struggled in the past, saying, you know, if it wasn't for this person or that person showing up and just being there for me, I don't know what I would have done. So I think it's that idea of alleviating that sense of I'm the only one that feels like this, I'm fully alone in this. But also, like we were talking about before, with social media now and in that online presence, it's actually sometimes people are lonelier maybe than they were in the past when we didn't have those things because you know it's not as real. So it's that real connection and that real empathy that's even more important now when you're face to face with someone.
With One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, I think that's why all the changes happen around Mick Murphy, because he it's not that he's a completely empathetic person, but he becomes this person. He's just himself in the space, which is not that he is the remedy and perfection to everything going on. There's so many times that he still butts heads with all the other patients, but all the patients have gotten so used to everyone being oh, you're feeling like this. That's a shame. Like, very robotic, very clinical, very this is to the T what we do, and that human what was the about the advocacy and human interaction?
Empathy. Human connection.
It's it can be forgotten as well, and I have conversations with this with some of my best friends as well. You're meant to disagree with people that you associate with. It's kind of what makes us human, because if everything went according to plan every time, it wouldn't be human anymore. And the clinic for the show is always going to plan, and then something's not going to plan anymore, and it feels more human than it does before.
And I totally agree with that. And I think that, I mean, one of the things we know about treatment for mental illness is that the relationship between the therapist and the client is of paramount importance. And that just shows you the strength of relationships and human connection. Because actually, I'm not saying that what happens in the sessions isn't important too, obviously it is, but actually the relationship is often more predictive of how things are going to, you know, how well that treatment's going to work. And that just shows you the power of actually people in this picture.
No, that's great. So just wrapping up here really is, what role can community organisations like CentreStage Rolleston and the arts play in reducing stigma and encouraging connection?
Do you want to go first?
Sure. Well, so for community organisations like CentreStage to it's a very difficult one, because it's important to make a space that is very, very warm, very, very safe for everybody in those scenarios. But there's still an importance to not push it as well. It's the idea of making the space completely safe, so it is somewhere where no one feels in danger and everyone can communicate as they need, though. But not try the hi everyone, we're here to make sure that everyone's happy. Raise your hands if you have depression. Not that kind of approach. But CentreStage is doing that already. I found with my experience with it, because it's my first show with them, that it is a safe space. It is welcoming. It's got its community grounded, and then as that's only someone in the community that I know there's steps to. Where do I go if there's anything to talk about though?
Within CentreStage, or
that's the thing, because I've only mentioned and can really talk about the space I walk into as the person in that community, walking in as an actor. But for the other side of it, where do you think organisations could turn to if someone came to them saying, "Hi, I'm feeling this"?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think there are community agencies that are available that you could call to ask for advice. There are, I always, personally, I actually always sort of talk to people, and if I feel like they need more support, I might suggest they go and talk to their GP in the first instance. There's those text lines that you can text, there's phone calls, but I think, going back to CentreStage, I think theatre is a way of connecting, isn't it, with each other and with the audience, and in the same way as having a safe space for the actors and the people who are who are working in the production, we're also providing something for the community who are coming to watch that production and maybe haven't had some of those conversations before, haven't thought about what it might be like in that. So we're offering them content that they can take away and think about and share conversations about, which is ultimately our goal, is for people to feel more comfortable to talk about these things, isn't it? And absolutely, theatre's a place where we can create a safe community for people to feel themselves. I mean, there's so much, particularly for young people out there, it's so hard to just be yourself. And I think in theatre that's something that can happen, is that we can be ourselves as we create these pieces of work, to share with others. So I think, there's multiple ways that you can support the knowledge and understanding of mental health through community groups.
And what better place to go to than theatre companies, because our job is to emotionally throw ourselves out of plane.
That's right,
Absolutely.
It's so many times you come in, you go, "I'm having a great day, time to cry." It's just, and so it is, you yourself are putting yourself through an emotional roller coaster as it is. So it's kind of, so at least in this space as well, it's kind of a good, I don't want to say testing ground, but opportunity to really see how these responses can be taken, for the fact that we, as most of us professional as well, have the control to know, I don't feel this way, I am acting. It's not it's like putting on a coat. You're wearing this coat now. Okay, I'm done with it now, and we have that freedom with our profession to do that. But unfortunately, some people don't get to take off their coat, and
That's right.
It's really hard
It's
to
a really
still
good
work with
analogy. Yeah, and I think it is important that, not just for the cast who are putting themselves through the ringer every night, to put on a really good show, because it's quite a challenging show for the cast to be involved in. It covers some really quite dark themes. But I think also for the audience watching it, it's important, this might bring up some stuff for them that they didn't know was there necessarily. And so I think it's about being able to know, the organisations you can make contact with, or be able to reach out to your family or your friends and kind of talk about, whatever it is that it's brought up for them. And I'm hoping that that's what this is. We'll create a safe environment for everybody, not just the cast, but for the community that come and watch as well. So I think that's the end of my questions. So thanks to you both for coming in. I really appreciate your time. So One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is on stage from the 10th to the 18th of July. You can get your tickets on a social media link, or you can go to the CentreStage website and buy your tickets there. Hopefully we'll see you there.